great pleasure today to present to you Mr. Julius Schulman, who will talk on the role of the concertmaster.
Thank you. I would like to start with a little anecdote about 1900 years ago in Rome. Sometimes in the Colosseum, Christians were being fed to the lions. And at this one scene, there was a lion at one side of the arena and one of the Christians at the other side of the arena. And the assembled multitude were waiting for development. So the lion strode over to the Christian, and the Christian bent over and whispered something in the lion's ear. And then the lion just stalked away and went back to his cage. And everybody applauded, and then they went over to the Christian and said, "What did you whisper in the lion's ear that subdued him?" And he said, "Well, I told him that after the meal he would be expected to say a few words." That's the way I feel about speaking. I would rather play than speak. But I have been introduced as a concertmaster, and the name concertmaster is an enigma to many people. They don't know exactly what a concertmaster is. Believe it or not, I was with an orchestra at a university in Connecticut, and the head of the music department at a party after the concert, when I was introduced to him as a concertmaster, he said, "What instrument do you play?" This was the head of a music department at college. Now, a concertmaster is a violinist first and a leader of the section. In fact, in the English-speaking country, in the English-oriented countries like England and New Zealand and Australia, he is not called a concertmaster. He is a leader, and the leader of the section. He must be the best of all the violinists, because he is called upon to play solos as composers have written them into the orchestra part. And when a solo is being played, it must be played better by the concertmaster than anybody behind him can possibly play it. He must have a bigger tone, more surety, and he must, of course, be aware that it must be played in a beautiful way and more solidly than anybody behind him can possibly play it. Otherwise, he is in trouble. If somebody in a fourth stand can play better than a concertmaster, watch out. Now, the concertmaster's duties are to carry out the wishes of the composer and the conductor and communicate this to the orchestra without words, but by markings in the part called bowings. I will go into this at a little length, because a lot of people don't know what bowings are. They think the concertmaster is only a concertmaster and comes out to tune up the orchestra. He is a man who comes out after everybody is seated, and he raps for quiet and everybody tunes up. There's a lot more to it than that. We have to mark the bowings. Now, in the violin, we have a possibility of playing a short note, a long note, down bow, up bow, and everything must be marked in the way of bowings according to what we think the composer wanted, and of course what the conductor wants. Now, coming up the program after this, we have the Symphony number 40 in G minor of Mozart. Now, it starts now. I just started at up bow, and my training has been to start an upbeat with an up bow, so that when the conductor's hand goes up, our violin bows go up. And when the conductor's hand comes down on a downbeat, because if you've seen conductors, you know they go up, down, And for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have been trained that if possible, we come down bow on a downbeat, which meant that I started down. Now there's another possibility. Sometimes going against the grain. Starting the other way, it gets a different character. You see, I'm playing in a different part of the bow, necessarily. Now, it's up to me, as concertmaster, to make a choice. Which one do I want? And of course, I can be countermanded by the conductor. But it's left to me alone at this point, and I take it this way. Which to me has a fuller tone, which means that all the members of the first violin section behind me are going to do the same thing. Because it would look very, very awkward if at the time I am doing this, somebody else does. It would not look right, and it would be disturbing to the assembled multitude in the orchestra. There are things like that that have to be set upon in every work. The Brahms symphony that we are playing right now, the fourth, we're playing it tonight. If any of you have heard the lectures of Leonard Bernstein, you will have heard him say that there are phrases that are the questions and answers, and this is a very typical example. He himself has used this example. Question. Answer. Why not? All right. You know. Question and answer. According to me, as concertmaster, we must start down bow, because the stronger phrase is, this is always a stronger one. The up bow is more tender. Has to be. We can't get as much pressure. And if I force the violins, without, perhaps force is not the correct word, but if I bow it so that my tone is multiplied by everybody sitting behind me, it's very obvious across the footlights to the whole audience that the quality that I'm striving for, which I think Brahms has strived for, is being carried out by the bowings. These bowings do not come from the score. These bowings come from the concertmaster. And of course, every concertmaster gets his ideas of bowings differently. The mere fact that I want it one way does not mean that another concertmaster may not want it another way. He may think he is right. I think I'm right. Now, there are times in the score where Brahms wrote things that are impossible to do. He has, for instance, all in one phrase in the same symphony. We're running out of bow. We don't have enough. He had a stroke, a phrase line, a tie line, showing that everything should be played in one bow. And I'm running out of bow. I can't do it. It's up to the concertmaster to try to carry out Brahms's ideas and yet make it playable, so that without it being obvious, I change bow. You should not be able to hear the difference. You should not be able to hear the bow change, but it had to be done. This is up to the concertmaster to show the orchestra, the first violins, how these things are actually done. So that the concertmaster has the job of doing the bowings. And if he is a good concertmaster, the bowings are prepared before the first rehearsal. Now, this is so that everybody can practice the bowings that have been marked, and that when we come to the first rehearsal, there is no hesitation in any of the members as to what is going to be done. And at that point, they can give all their attention to the conductor. So that if a concertmaster is doing his job well, the bowings have been marked before the first rehearsal. Now, if a concertmaster has never played this Brahms symphony before, he is liable to be floundering around. This creates a situation in the first violins where everybody starts floundering around because they don't know what to do. And you have to find a concertmaster who knows the answers before the first rehearsal has started. Now, in my own case, how did I get the answers to what I just spoke about? Of course, I just gave you a few little examples. There are examples in every program, in every symphony, hundreds of examples of the problems that the concertmaster has to figure out as to up bow or down bow. Even in the symphony, in the tonight's symphony program, we start with the Mozart overture, Magic Flute. It is done by me, all up bows, up, 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 up. Sometimes you might find concertmasters doing it separately. I think it sounds better. Now, did that develop with me? That I said, I think. Now, how did I develop my thoughts? My thoughts came because I got my ideas from my training. My training at the Curtis Institute, for instance, we had what you might call seminars today, or bull sessions, or plain classes. Actually, there were about 12 violinists in every violin group. When I was at Curtis, there were about perhaps 50 violin students, but about 12 of us aimed for orchestra concertmaster chairs, and perhaps we were even picked out to attend these classes by the then concertmaster of the Philadelphia Symphony, who was Alexander Hilsberg. And Hilsberg would teach us, and we would discuss, when I was at Curtis, the problems of all these symphonies and how Hilsberg treated them as a professional concertmaster at that time of one of the great orchestras, the Philadelphia Symphony. Then my training was not only under Hilsberg, but from the conductors that I have played with. I played with Tchaikovsky, Toscanini, Ormandy, Reiner, Leinsdorf. They had their ideas and what they wanted in poems. And many of the ideas that I have now, many of the answers that I have reached, have actually stemmed from what I learned under these great conductors. Then, also, I played under various concertmasters myself when I was in orchestras. And when I was concertmaster of the Mutual Network in New York, I often played concerts, and we made recordings and transcriptions with what we called pickup orchestras. And these pickup orchestras had some of the top concertmasters of the day. It was Gibson, Hollander, Misha Mishakov, Mike Usakov, Tasha Samara, David Madison. How did Madison get in with all these men? Anyway, some of these men were pupils that went back to Auer in St. Petersburg. And we would discuss at our breaks, at our intermissions, we would discuss the problems of Mozart symphonies, the Brahms Fourth, the Boeings of the great violinists of the day. We would always try to figure out what made Heifetz, A. Heifetz, and Elman and Chrysler. And I would keep my ears open. Incidentally, when we would play these sessions, sometimes I would be concertmaster, sometimes one of the other men. We would take turns being concertmaster on these various things. And the way that we would learn from each other is that we would actually play passages from the various symphonies and discuss the various bowings. And of course, I also played under the concertmaster of the Boston Symphony, Joey Silverstein. If you've seen television of the Boston Symphony, you've seen Joey Silverstein in the concertmaster chair. And I have played for 10 years, and I was always very a talkative guy, and I like to talk about the problems with bowings and things like that. And I would discuss it with Joey Silverstein, and also in the operatic repertoire, I learned from Raymond Gnevic. Now, these names, to me, are very important names in the field of concert mastering, and that's where I learned the answer, so that when I play a Brahms symphony, I don't have to flounder around and say, what shall we do here? We are going to do something because I know Tchaikovsky did it, Reiner did it this way, Silverstein did it this way, and from the various ways that it's been done, I have a choice, and I know what the choices are. Incidentally, at any time, a conductor may, for some reason or other, want more tone or less tone, may want something a little drier, faster or slower than I had visualized it. And of course, he will say to me, what can we do here? And I must have another alternative bowing ready for a conductor at any time. So that in order to be, shall we say, qualified as a concertmaster, you should have played in various different orchestras under various conditions, different conductors, and know what the answers are to the problems, and then do them correctly. And one of the things about bowings that I like to do is that the bowing should be simple, so that the people in the orchestra don't have to spend too much time looking at the bowings, but they can free themselves from the eye, from the music, and they can pay all their attention to the conductor. One of the other things that a concertmaster has to do is also control the orchestra on times, because there are situations where a conductor perhaps gets a little ambiguous. And when he gets ambiguous, it is up to the concertmaster to be the leader for the whole group of orchestra. Everybody will look at the concertmaster in a case like that and say, is it now? Shall we play now? And one of the places you might run into something like this is where there's a long hold and everybody has to play. Sometimes with the hand, it is not as easy for a conductor to do this and say now as it is for a concertmaster. If everybody watches him when we play, if I do, everybody in the orchestra knows that's it. So that is the concertmaster's neck who is thrust out. He's sticking out his neck all the time. He must be right, because I make my entrances and I have to do it. I jump in smack with both feet, and this is the way. And if everything's good, the conductor likes you and says it's very good. If it's not good, then the conductor would always say, well, we have to get another concertmaster. So there are things now that I will talk about that a lot of people don't know. After I have bowed for the first violins, it doesn't stop with the first violins, because the second violins are playing so much the same as the first violins that whatever I have bowed for the first violins is taken automatically by the principal second violins. And the same thing goes for the violas and the cellos. The basses are upside down and a little bit different, but through the phrasing that I have started bowing for the violins travels through all the strings, so that the leader of the section, the concertmaster, is the leader of all the strings, and what he has bowed for the first violins goes into all the strings. But it doesn't end there, because the concertmaster in his bowings has to bear in mind that the flutes are playing along with the first violins, and whatever I phrase for the first violins is going to end up with the flutes and the oboes. And the English horns are playing with the violas, and the French horns are playing with the cellos. You see how it begins to travel through the orchestra, that the bowings that the concertmaster made begin to have an effect on all the winds and all the brass. It goes through the whole orchestra this way, from one to another. Now, and of course, it's a two-way street, because what the horns are doing is very important to the concertmaster. I must do things that they are doing also, so that the phrasing that sometimes might start in the wind section ends up into the string section. Now, the other duties of a concertmaster are to play the solos. The solos that a composer has written when he wants a certain effect. The effect of one violin playing instead of the effect of all the violins playing. Now, for instance, Rimsky-Korsakov, in his Capriccio Espagnol wants to set a scene. He's going to have some Spanish dances. Before he starts the Spanish dances, he wants to set the scene. And he does it by having one concertmaster solo play alone. There is nothing else going on. And after that, the orchestra goes into their rhythm, and they're off on the dance. The same composer, Rimsky-Korsakov, wants to write 1,001 Nights. Calls it Scheherazade. Scheherazade starts with a concertmaster solo. It's a story of a sultan and his favorite wife, Scheherazade, who told him stories for 1,000 nights. And he sets the pace by having one violin play all alone, nothing else. It was a big orchestra beginning, and suddenly there's a dead silence. And that sets the scene for the story. Bertie Grofé, in his suite On the Trail, wanted another effect from a concertmaster. He wanted a concertmaster to sound like a braying mule. Now, he knew how to tell a concertmaster to do this, because it comes out like this: a braying mule, and then On the Trail. That's the braying of the mule, and then, of course, into On the Trail. Another concertmaster solo that is quite famous was by Offenbach, and this is called Orpheus in the Underworld. And in the story, he has this solo. And if that's the kind of music they have in the underworld, I wouldn't mind. Then There's the Danse Macabre of Saint-Saëns. He felt also that one violin would be the color that he wanted for what he is trying to portray. So he is trying to portray the devil playing the violin, and skeletons rise up and dance. The dancing skeletons and the devil playing the violin. It's 12 o'clock midnight. 3, 4, 11, 12. That's a stroking of 12. And then the devil tunes up. Now you've all heard me tune up. Devil tunes up. Joins in, and of course the skeletons you hear dancing. That's the bony skeletons, you know. And then Tchaikovsky, one of my favorite composers all the time, wrote some beautiful ballet music in Swan Lake. There is very beautiful ballerina dancing on a stage, and the concertmaster plays while she dances. The lights of my profession is playing music like that in a ballet while the ballerina is dancing to my violin playing. This is the height. Then of course, in the violin solo repertoire, one of the great ones is by Brahms from his first symphony. You might recognize slow movement. And then the horns join in. So those are the duties of the concertmaster that perhaps you didn't know. The concertmaster in some orchestras is considered a disciplinarian. I disagree with this. I don't think that it is a concertmaster's duties to discipline anybody. I think that a concertmaster should, by his example, show how things should be done. He should play to the best of his ability and be ready to demonstrate how you might finger a certain passage and certainly how it is bowed. Now, after this, I would just like to go into some little violin numbers to show you some of the aspects of the violin. The great name in violin repertoire is Paganini. And in order to some of the technique of Paganini, who incidentally developed something called the left-hand pizzicato. In one of his etudes he wrote, that's the type of thing that was never heard of before Paganini's day. In fact, when Paganini played, people were so astounded that they said that they were sure that they could see the devil helping him play right behind him. His 20th caprice is kind of tuneful and then gets very fast. There's another little anecdote I would like to tell you about this violinist that was playing a concerto with an orchestra. He played beautifully, but all the way through he was making horrible faces. You know, as if he was in terrible pain. After he had finished, the conductor says, "You played so beautifully, I must compliment you. I have very rarely heard such beautiful playing, but tell me, why do you make such horrible faces?" I says, "I hate music." Last night there was a broadcast on TV of a concerto. I won't go any further into it, except it reminded me of that story because of faces. On the violin, we have 4 strings, quartet of strings. And in the violin, our fingering, we don't consider the thumb as a finger. We have 4 fingers. We consider the first finger to be a strong finger. The second one is for very fast work. The third one is a nice singing finger, like that. And the fourth one is a filler-in, all-around finger. Now, each one of these fingers has its own character, its own personality. And the combination of using one finger or another, plus one string or another, is what gives us our color on the violin, because we are painting pictures on the violin all the time. And in order to play the next number, I am utilizing all the colors of the violin by choosing my own fingers to play certain notes you will be able to see. And sometimes I use the same finger for two different notes, and sometimes on the same note, I will change a finger just to get a different color. And I'm going to play for you the Ave Maria of Schubert to demonstrate. There is an entirely different kind of fiddling called bluegrass. So let's listen to Patty on a Turnpike, Ricketts Hornpipe, The Devil's Dream, and the Orange Blossom Special. A little favorite of many of us, the Hot Canary.